Within 1 week, I had no more pain. And I'm like, okay, there's definitely something to this. The first time in my life, I'm actually starting to get some abdominal definition. And I've worked my butt off before. And now it's like, I'm just chilling and it's just happening. It's like I have to work less to gain more muscle than I did before. And I'm gaining actual muscle instead of just fattening my muscles up with glycogen. Once you're fat adapted, you got more than enough energy to do what you need to do. It's so easy. You have hurdles. We all have hurdles and we have to work for it. But once you get to a point where your body's acclimated to it, it's just smooth sailing. If I had this diet back when I was in high school, I probably would have been on the honor roll instead of being a C student.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today we have David as our special guest. Coach David, I guess he does some coaching for us as well. So David, good morning. Where are you located?
I'm in Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville. Nice. Do you know Brett Lloyd? He's a fellow member that lives out there in Jacksonville. I don't know if you've ever met him.
No, I haven't met him yet.
Okay. He might be one of your neighbors. Hell, he might even live across the street from you for all I know. But I know Jacksonville's got about 1 million people or something like that. Pretty big city, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people here.
Yeah. I've been there once. I did an orthopedic conference there many years ago, learning about all about orthopedic tumors. But anyway, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got to where you are, your story, if you don't mind.
Okay. So I'm 38, and for significant portion of my life, I have fought with my weight, depression, anxiety. Yeah, everyone just thought as being a teenager or from being a guy, just certain things, especially acne. I think I went through 2 rounds of Accutane when I was a teenager, had severe acne. And about 4 years ago, I came across keto. And I tried that out for about 3-4 months. I ended up losing about 20 pounds. But then I fell off of it and gained all that plus some. So I ended up about 238 pounds. And I do have some muscle, so I do lift weights and stuff, but I did not carry 238 pounds. So I was very big. And back in June last year, I got in a car accident with a company vehicle. I was delivering some product here in town, and a big box truck. And Mercedes ended up slamming into the back corner of the truck. And I went all over the place, hit a couple of cars, ended up in the guardrail. And I tore my supraspinatus. Is that?
Yeah, it's one of your rotator cuff muscles. Yep.
Yeah. So I basically, this shoulder, I couldn't lift my arm higher than this. And I was in severe pain the whole time, still working, but I was on workers' comp doing physical therapy. It was just moving slow. And I remember I came to a point, I was like, I'm just tired of being in pain. And I remember when I was on keto that it did help my inflammation. But I had listened to some podcasts about the Carnivore Diet and everything. I used to think it was crazy. I was like, oh, that's so strict. I'm not going to be able to do that. But I was in so much pain and I was so tired of it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do whatever it takes. So I went cold turkey, started Carnivore Diet. My wife was supportive. Within 1 week, I had no more pain. And I'm like, okay, there's definitely something to this. And I wasn't having a hard time sticking to the diet because my favorite thing to eat is meat. I started eating eggs every morning. For lunch, I would have a pork chop or steak. And then for dinner, I would have some chicken or mainly steak. Red meat, I feel the best on. And as a side effect, all my weight just started to go away. After 3 months, I came off my antidepressants. All my acne, I had severe back acne at the time. My wife used ointment on me and everything, trying to clear it up. Nothing seemed to work. All of that cleared up. And as of today, I'm at 48 pounds down. And I don't know what my BMI or anything. I haven't had DECA scan or anything. But besides the weight loss, going to the gym every day is like I'm hitting a new personal record. I feel fantastic. And there hasn't been one thing in my whole entire life that has been able to cause such a drastic change in my quality of life than just cutting out everything but eating meat. And I try to spread the word as much as I can. And still, I think the diet is popular, but there's still so many people that don't know about it. And they're like, what do you mean you just eat meat? That's not healthy. And I have to go in the whole spiel like, if it's not healthy, then why am I doing so well?
Yeah,
that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, I'll just comment on that. It's just, if it's not healthy, why am I so healthy? It's not healthy to be healthy, right? No, of course, you see
right.
awful and be bloated and farting all the time and have joint pain. You're healthy, right? So it's kind of funny how people gaslight themselves into this sort of stuff. And I will just comment on the acne. I had really bad acne as a kid growing up. I was like the plague. I felt like I was a kid with a plague, and I had to Accutane. I still have scars on my face from cystic acne as a kid. So it's kind of bums. I know how that sucks. And yeah, that particularly well on your face, because that's the first thing people see typically. But so 48 pounds down, shoulder supraspinatus. For you guys, the rotator cuff is four muscles, and supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis are the four. The supraspinatus is often torn. That's just the top of the shoulder, and that's very commonly torn. A lot of people have pain lifting their arm up over their head, so that's gone. Is that what you're saying? Pretty much, you're in a gym.
Yeah. I know that I have to dig into my shoulder to feel some tenderness on it, but I'm back. I'm not completely back to where I was. I'm still going to the gym, working it out, but I can get a 40-pound weight above my head now, where before it was like I had a 1 pound weight and I was happy to get that above my head.
Yeah.
Definitely improvement. And even my physical therapist, I told him what I had started. And after about a month and he saw my progress, he was like, okay, tell me about what you're doing. And I think it got him curious enough where he's going to possibly try to put that into his programs a little bit.
Yeah, at the very least, when I tell people, just if you can just increase your meat intake and then cut out all the junk. Every extra ounce of meat you eat and you take away an ounce of junk, you're going to be doing just tremendously better. And if you go full carnivore, which is sometimes needed for a lot of people, it really seems to be effective. It's an ultimate elimination diet, as many people like to call it. As far as you said, I think you said depression and things like that. If I wasn't, that's so common, that we see, and even starting in the teenage years, you get covered in acne, you're overweight, you probably just don't feel good, maybe who knows what else is going on. But so talk to me about the mental side of this, because a lot of people underestimate the amount of impact that nutrition has on our mental health. So how did that impact you?
Everyone, once you're in the space, everyone talks about clarity of thinking. Your mind just opens up. Like all the fog has been lifted. Definitely notice that. If I'm at a party or I decide that I'm going to splurge a little bit because the donuts on the table at work have called at me too much, and I have one donut or two, I see a significant difference in the way that I can think, in the way that I feel. If I eat something that's outside of the diet, I get bloated. Sometimes my shoulder even starts hurting again. And to see that if I deviate a little bit and it has such a drastic effect on me, we all walk around and think that we feel fine, but it's not until you cut out all that stuff and your mind opens up and you're like, oh my gosh, I was not fine. This morning, I used to struggle to get out of bed, to wake up, used to go to work like a zombie. Now I just get up and I eat my eggs. I go to work. It's easy. I don't have to take a shower in the morning to wake myself up anymore.
No, I still do that, man. I like that morning shower. That's my routine. And sometimes I get out and do a little exercise before, and then I'll hop in the shower after. But it's one of those things where if I'm not, that I got in about 1 o'clock last night, and I was out of the state down in California, and so I was like, I gotta wake up, take my kid to school, and I can run back here and do this. So as far as family, I think you said wife and things like that. Do they make it like, hey, what the hell are you doing? What's going on with this? Why are you eating just meat?
No, my mom and my sister have done, they actually, when I was a teenager, started me on the Atkins diet. And I did see some success with that. But, they have so many products now that just aren't healthy for the Atkins and low carb and everything that I just relapsed. So they're actually currently doing keto. My wife and I are on carnivore. She's trying to ease herself into it, and she's super highly sugar addicted. It's amazing how addicted to sugar she is. Now, my father-in-law, he saw the changes in me. We went for about 3 months where we didn't see each other. And she was telling him I was losing weight and feeling great and all that. And he was like, oh, but then when he saw me, he was like, oh my gosh. Okay, what are you doing? So I broke it down to him, and he's been on the diet for about 2 months now. And I think he's almost at 20 pounds down. And he's doing fantastic. He's always calling me up. How should I cook this? Can I have this? And so I've had a lot of support from my family. It's others that are outside of my family that when I tell them what I'm doing, they're like, you're going to die. Like,
well, I mean,
it's going to die.
The answer to that is, so are you. We're all going to die.
Right.
No one's getting out of this alive. You just realize that, and your quality of life becomes important. It's like, yeah, maybe I'm going to die, but at least I'm going to have a good life and live it and enjoy it.
Exactly.
Hopefully a long time. About the thing about the Atkins products and keto product, I want to go to the grocery store where they have like all the steaks on sale. And they have a label on there that says carnivore steak, carnivore product. Here you go. It's already, you don't need the labels for this diet. So it's interesting. So one of the, obviously the you're going to die thing we hear from everybody, your cholesterol is going to be high and heart disease and all this stuff, which turns out that for all the people who haven't done it, we've not really seen almost none of that. We're all the dead bodies. I'm not seeing them. I'm not seeing anybody. I've heard one or two isolated things of people that already had heart disease, and then they show that they had heart disease type of thing, but I'm not really seeing a lot of this de novo newly occurring onset heart disease in anybody so far. Maybe they'll prove wrong, man. Because the naysayers will say, it's funny, they'll say it takes years, decades before you're going to see it. And yet, like Dr. Joel Conway, he had a guy who used to be vegan, went carnivore. His LDL cholesterol was high, and he's, oh my God, it's a disaster. And he cathed him and said there was some mild atherosclerotic disease, and he blamed it on carnivore. I said, Joel, I thought it took 20 years to develop. How are you blaming it on 1 year? Maybe it was 20 years of veganism he did before. Oh, no, that doesn't. Yeah, it's kind of funny. But what about expense? Because a lot of people will say, hey, this is just meat's too expensive. I can't do this. What are your thoughts on that?
The way I explain it to people, you can make the diet as expensive as you want. I'm not currently in a state that I can go and buy the tomahawk ribeyes and eat those every single day. I would love that. I'd love if I had the salary for that, but it's not going to happen. So we do chuck steaks, and people's like, oh, they're so tough. I'm like, no, chuck steaks I get, they're pretty tender and they're full of fat. So we'll do those. I'll get chuck roast. I'll dice them up. I'll throw them on the smoker, eat them rare, nice fire crisp to them, and eat eggs in the morning, ground beef. We like to do chicken wings. I've cut out all the olive oil, avocado oil, and any vegetable oils. We use ghee, and my ghee lasts me a good week or two. I use duck fat also. And what I tell people is if I'm going to eat a meal and I want a steak dinner, I'm going to eat a steak. I'm going to eat mashed potatoes, a salad, all that. I got to spend money on all the extra stuff. But if I'm just going to eat the steak, I'm not buying all that extra. And because I don't have those carbohydrates, I'm just eating fat and protein. I'm satiated. There's sometimes that my wife and I will split a steak. Now I might get hungry a little bit later, but I just eat some more steak. So we've actually saved money getting on this diet. And I'm not buying my medication. I'm not buying the acne cream. All those things that my previous diet were causing me to have to spend money on, it's all gone. The only splurge item that I have that's not on the diet that I continue to buy is coffee. And I love coffee. Now, I do want to get to a point where I'll even cut that out and try to go strict lion diet and see how that works for me. But that's mainly out of curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah. I never was a coffee drinker, so I can't comment one way or the other. But I do know a lot of people that give up coffee do notice an improvement, or some do, at least probably about half the folks, it seems like. As far as you said, you want to spread this word out as much as possible. How are you trying to do that? Is social media? Are you trying to just talk in the local area, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, I'm doing it in the local area. My wife and I have a social media account and we spread it that way. I actually want to get some t-shirts like Carnivore Coach or things on the back, things that have improved. And just so people ask questions. When I'm at the gym, I had a couple of people that have seen me come into the gym and everything. They'll ask me about my progress, and I'll tell them straight up, it's all because of I cut all the vegetables out of my diet. And I always get that crazy look. But it's those little things that start the conversation. And if I can improve their life, then they'll spread the word. And then joining your coaching program through that, trying to spread it too.
Yeah, and thanks for doing that, by the way. And I think that you just get them curious enough to where they'll take a look at it. And of course, obviously, if you type in Google carnivore diet in Google, probably the first entry will be why you shouldn't go on the carnivore diet or something. Yeah. That's because they're trying to dissuade us from doing this because they don't want us to stop eating their junk food and they don't want us to stop being on their pills. And if you think about it, the people that control and have a vested interest in the financial interests that have the billions of dollars to influence Google searches and the media are the ones that do that. So if you talk to the actual people that do this, you get a very different result with that. What about, so people ask, what about cholesterol lab work? Have you done any labs and things like that? Is that something you've checked so far?
Yeah, I haven't had any recent. I had about 6 months after I started the diet, and everything improved. The only thing that was a little bit high was my creatine level. But at the time, I was still taking a creatine supplement and going to the gym. I've stopped that. So as soon as I get some updated labs, she said, everything's improved. So you're definitely doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah. With the serum creatinine is often just a consequence of higher protein diets, which is generally totally fine. And as far as taking creatine supplements, I think it's become superfluous on this diet, particularly if you're eating more than a couple pounds of meat a day. If you're eating now 2.5 pounds of meat a day, you're getting 5 grams of creatine and you got plenty of that in you. No need to pay for that. And,
that's another thing I don't have to spend money on.
Yeah, it's not that. I think creatine was relatively cheap. I haven't used it in years. I remember when it first came out, I used it. It was actually pretty effective. It was one of the few supplements that had some decent efficacy in studies. And it's because where do you get it in meat? And so all these things that work, these supplements that seem to work, come naturally in meat. So it's like, why not just eat meat like you're designed to do? You mentioned you lost 48 pounds. How hard was it for you to do that? Was this the easiest you've ever lost weight?
Definitely the easiest. It used to be I'd lose like a pound a week, or I'd have to starve myself. I'd have to fight to just eat things that I didn't enjoy. I had to be in a calorie deficit and go and lift weights and run. And it just wasn't enjoyable. But now I just, I eat 3 meals a day because I'm actually working out and I'm hungry. And I eat till I'm satiated and I can actually get full now because I'm not taking in the carbohydrates and it's causing me to be more hungry than what I think I am. And I just let nature do its thing and it just comes off. The first time in my life, I'm actually starting to get some abdominal definition. And I've worked my butt off before. And now it's like, I'm just chilling and it's just happening.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice thing to do. And I guess the calorie purists would say you're still in a calorie deficit because you're losing weight. And I would say you're not hungry. Like you said it when I was in a calorie deficit before, you're dealing with hunger. You're like, I'm hungry all the time. Therefore, I'm in a calorie deficit. And now you're like, I'm still losing weight. Technically, supposedly, I'm in a calorie deficit, but I'm not hungry. And I think that makes a huge difference in your ability to do that, or the ease by which you can do that. Charlie, wanted to ask if you noticed, and I know we talked about depression, but mental clarity. Did you feel like you could think better? And I don't know what kind of work you do, but has it helped you with that stuff?
Yeah, I'm a shipping clerk for a sheet metal company. So I find it easier to figure out the puzzle of, I got this product that needs to go with this freight company. I got this product that needs to go with this one, and they have to come pick up at certain times. It's just much easier for me to schedule things. And it's like I tell my wife, if I had this diet back when I was in high school, I probably would have been in on the honor roll instead of being a C student. I was taking honors classes, so I was doing okay making C's, but school was a struggle and learning what just felt like it had a barrier. And now, if I was on, I probably would have done great. I definitely would have been in a better mental state.
Yeah. And like I said, I've seen so many people where they've had just improvements in their clarity of thought and their mental. And so it's quite interesting to see that. And as we go forward with our company, we're going to be focusing on some of the mental side as well, because I think we do such a bad job treating mental illness in this country. Just here's another drug and side effects and it doesn't really work and on. You said you're getting stronger. Tell me a little bit about that. Are you because there's no carbohydrates, people say, how can you train without carbs? Do you find that you have any difficulty doing a workout?
Yeah, I've never been one to go to the gym for 2-3 hours a day. I usually go after work. I lift weights with very little rest in between sets for a good half hour. And then sometimes for recovery, I'll do the massage chairs or the infrared light therapy. Sometimes I'll run on the treadmill. And it's like I have to work less to gain more muscle than I did before. And I'm gaining actual muscle instead of just fattening my muscles up with glycogen. So I think once you're fat adapted, you got more than enough energy to do what you need to do.
Yeah, that's often the case for the vast majority of people. I think some people running marathons at world-class pace may argue against that, but I'd say for sure. And it's something that you said, I never went to the gym for 2 or 3 hours. I don't think anybody needs to do that. That's you're wasting the time for spending 3 hours in the gym. You can get a good workout in at 30, 45 minutes is all you need. Even at a very advanced level, you don't need that prolific time for particularly muscle building. You can do it much more quickly than that. How much do you eat on a day? Because you didn't mention how much you weigh. You said you lost 50 pounds or 48 pounds, but what do you weigh? What is your size now, and how much are you eating a day?
So I'm 5'9", and I weighed a couple of days ago. I was 191, but that goes down or up here. I've settled on my weight right now. And I eat probably between 4 and 5 scrambled eggs in the morning, cooked in duck fat or ghee. And for lunch, if I have steak, I'll have a whole chuck steak. Good. That's probably a half-pound steak. And then for dinner, I'll do the same thing, or I'll eat probably nice thick pork chop. And that seems to be all I need. If I get hungry, I'll eat something else. But usually that's been what my body's been telling me that I'm good with.
Yeah. And you said your wife was a pretty hardcore sugar addict. Is that still in the house? If you ever get a craving, maybe you don't at this point, how did you deal with that in the past?
We would cook we'd cook a bunch of bacon, and I'd have bacon in the fridge. And if I had a craving, I'd eat some bacon. Pork rinds were great. Just having some chopped up pieces of steak or even shrimp in the fridge. When I get a little craving, I'll just eat a couple pieces. I don't eat a full meal. I just eat a couple pieces. I'm like, I'm good. My wife's problem is if she worked from home, she'd be great. And that's my problem too. Like I still have a little bit of the sugar addiction. And it's when people bring donuts or cookies and cake and all that stuff, and they sit in your office and you're staring at it all day. There's only so many times I can say no. And that's her problem, is people will bring her cookies or cake or things like that. And she's, no, I'm good. And then they tell her like, oh, just one won't hurt you. And just, oh, okay. And she'll eat one and then she'll eat another. And then she's like hiding them. So it sabotages her. So she has no problem when she's home and we don't have anything in the house and she can't get it. She'll just eat some meat. But when it's sitting on the counter at work, a box full of donuts or something, that's when she has an issue.
Yeah, it's tough when you're, like I said, the more sort of stuff that's opportunities you have to eat the wrong things. As I tell people, out of sight, out of mind makes it easier. So you don't have to make a decision every time, because you come to work and everybody's constantly bringing you cookies. I'm just trying to think the last time I had a donut. It's been, 8 years, maybe 8 or 9 years. I can't remember how long it's been now that I've had a donut. I remember now that I was like, the donuts, most of them are not even that good. No, it's like they feed that addictive behavior, but they're not like really good. It's like, why would you waste your energy on donuts at this point? But how about negatives? I always like to ask people if there are any sort of negatives that have developed since you started doing this. Anything you can think that's a downside?
I would say the digestive issues when you first start. That was interesting. But once you get acclimated, everything's great. It's just that initial good week or two, some people longer, that you're like, oh, I think I'm going to die. But that's just your system switching over and going haywire until it's, oh, this is how things are supposed to be. Other than that, the only negative, and I would say that it's a positive too, I feel fantastic. So the negative would be if I do splurge, I feel horrible. It's not that I already felt horrible and now I just feel a little bit more horrible and I don't notice it. No, I really notice it. And it's also positive because that reinforces to me that I was doing the right thing. I don't need to splurge. I need to stop that and just stay on the diet. That's the only thing I could think of. And that maybe also is that I would love to have more ribeye, stuff like that. And they're so expensive. But that's a consumer issue.
Yeah, like I said, I don't set the prices for steaks. It's not up to, because people are like, hey, so I like, you don't have to have ribeye. The chuck steaks, chuck roast, chuck steaks, I do those quite a bit too, and they're quite good. Mm-hmm. I'll take a big old chuck roast and throw it in a sous. I like to sous vide a lot, so I'll throw it in a sous vide in over 24 hours, and it's just as tender as can be. It's almost nice. So there's
I need to get
one of those. Yeah, I recommend them. It's very easy to be very precise on how you cook. And how do you, as far as, are you a medium rare type of guy, or what's your preference for these types of steaks?
Probably gross some people out, but I sometimes like a little bit cold in the middle.
It's blue rare,
yeah.
Basically. People call that. Yeah, that's fine. It can be.
But up to the medium rare. Anything, if it doesn't have any pink in it, I don't find it as appetizing.
Yeah, I mean, you and me both. It's kind of like, I don't know. I think maybe there's just this primitive, visceral type of thing we want.
And there's probably more nutrition left in the steak, so your body's telling you that it tastes better.
Yeah, there's a little. I don't know how big of the difference is. Actually, there are some studies on there that actually looked at that, and it's not as huge as you would think it is, as the raw meat people tell you. But there's some, and I think the biggest thing for me is I don't like cold steaks. I don't know. There's people that sit there and just pull a ribeye out the fridge and start gnawing on it. It's cold, and I just can't see how you do that. But for me, it's just put a hot sear on there, at least kill the surface bacteria, and then if you want it on the inside, just do it that way. But what about at work? You said sometimes you bring a half a steak to work or something like that. Is anybody at work saying, hey, what the hell are you doing? Why are you only eating steak?
In the beginning, people were like, that's all you're eating? I'm like, yeah, that's all I need. This is what I'm doing. And I get the crazy look, and that starts a conversation. And then in the beginning, they were like, well, that's not going to work out. You're going to get sick. And then they start seeing the weight loss. Then they start seeing how my skin and hair looks better, and I'm getting stronger. I'm lifting things that I couldn't before because everyone knew about my injury. And they're like, you still on that all meat thing? Yep. Working great. Feel fantastic. They're like, I might have to look into that. They're like, anytime you want to talk, I'll give you some pointers and get you down on the path. And some of them laugh it off, but I've actually had someone recently come to me and be like, okay, let's try this. And they're on it. Yeah. And they're doing fantastic.
Yeah, good for them. That's good. Good for you and good for them and good for you. Like I said, some people don't want people to know because they're embarrassed or they don't want the attention. It's weird. If your plate's full of junk food, no one cares. No one looks. We've all seen it. No one cared when I was eating Pepsi and cookies and potato chips, but now that I'm eating steak, everybody thinks I'm going to die. Like I said, you can't be. How could you be healthy when you're feeling healthy? That's possible. You're supposed to feel sick. What about as far as, are you, because again, there's always this sort of, I don't know if it's debate or controversy or preference, I should say, is probably the best word for that. Higher protein, higher fat. Are you looking to get lots of fat? Are you just trying to get enough protein, or you just eat what you feel like eating? How's that work for you?
I'm really just eating what I think I need to eat. If I have chicken, I know that it's leaner. So sometimes I'll add some cheese to it. I add butter to everything. I'm not tracking anything. I'm not looking at the fat content. I do, of course, I've always, with my steaks, I look at the marbling. So if the more fat the steak has, I know it's going to taste better. So that's basically my rule of thumb. If I have shrimp, I eat it in a butter sauce and I eat all the sauce. So things that are real lean naturally, I will add fat to them, but I just add fat to taste.
Yeah. And so you said butter and you said some cheese from time to time. So you do okay with the dairy. You're not having issues with dairy.
Yeah. Now, regular milk will mess with me, but butter doesn't seem to cause an issue. I can eat some yogurt in moderation. It doesn't seem to give me any digestive issues. Cheese seems to be fine. But if I have regular milk, I instantly get some digestive and bloating issues. I did try raw milk one time, and it didn't seem to affect me. So there might be something there.
Yeah, there's people that will say that they feel better with raw milk. Of course, I guess Florida a state where you can get it. I don't know. I know some states where it's harder and some states it's not. But
yeah, we do have some places here, but they have a label on it that says not for human consumption.
Oh, so it's pet milk. That's the way around it. Here's milk. Like, you're like, am I supposed to feed my dog milk or something? It's kind of like, pet's supposed to be drinking this stuff, and it's funny. But anyway,
yeah, that's actually another thing. We have 2 cats, and they were getting overweight, and we actually put them on a carnivore diet.
Yeah,
I make pre-made meatballs with ground beef, ground chicken wings so they get some calcium for the bones, and ground heart, because I know there's a vitamin that they can't get that they have to get from hard work and muscle. And they just are thriving. Beautiful coat. They started playing again. It changed their lives.
Were they older cats?
They're still young, but they were starting to get just sitting around doing nothing, just being lazy cats. And now they're constantly jumping around the house and playing with each other. And it's like they became kittens again.
Yeah, that's the same thing. My dogs have been on a carnivore diet for the last 6 years, and they're one of them 7 and the other one's 11, and they both are just like puppies still. They look great. Mm-hmm. We see so many people with their pets are obese and they're arthritic and they smell bad and their skin's bad and they're farting all the time. And it's just, because they're on their own diet. It's like they're like human. They're like the equivalent of humans. And you feed the dogs pet food or the cat's pet food, and what we're feeding humans is largely the same thing as kibble, pet food. And they're trying to convince us to eat more and more of that. And so as you get away from that, we clearly get healthier and healthier. As far as, do you have a goal in mind? You said you've lost 48 so far. Are you trying to get to a certain, because you said you're 190. What are you trying to get to?
Yeah. But I would like to think about 175. I've never been this low already, body fat wise. So I'm in new territory. I would love to have full abdominal definition, but I think that's not necessarily natural. So I think I'm going to get to a point where my body's going to be like, I'm good. And then I'm going to have to start tweaking and see where I can go. Once I can get to that point, then I'll start playing with things and see what my body's actually capable of.
Yeah.
But I've always been obese. So
so you said, because you mentioned as a teenager, is this relatively the leanest you've ever been since you've been even out of your teenage?
As far back as I can remember. I was going on about a 42-inch waist, and I'm fitting in a 32.
Wow.
And I don't think I've been a 32 since my mom used to buy my clothes, and I probably was in elementary school.
Wow. So back in the husky clothes back in elementary.
Yeah. It completely changed my life. I know. You asked me a year or two ago that I'd be fitting in a 32 and putting on medium-sized shirts. I would have laughed. Really, there's no way. I'll always be a large, extra large, or even a double X. Done that. But never a medium.
Yeah, it's got to feel fun. Yeah, and it's one of those deals where, it's like I've run into now. I've met, like I was at this KetoCon convention. I met people that were like, I used to be 400 pounds, and they were like normal size. They're like, there's no way you could have been 400 pounds, but it's such a huge transformation. And I'm sure it's given you a different outlook on life. Is that fair to say, as far as what you want to do?
Oh, tremendous. It's changed everything. And the thing that it blows my mind is that it's so easy. The initial hurdle, especially for someone like my wife who has a sugar addiction and stuff, you have hurdles. We all have hurdles and we have to work for it. But once you get to a point where your body's acclimated to it, it's just smooth sailing. My whole body changed. And just the mental clarity, the way I feel, the way when I'm in the bathroom and I don't have my shirt on and I start seeing these new little dimples or something that shows up on my obliques, I'm like, I have definition. It just astounds me. I'm like, how did that happen? I haven't even worked hard.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm sure it's got to feel good. And,
fantastic feeling.
Changes everything. And you're capable of doing more too. I mean, like I said, you were each shoulder you couldn't lift with, you had just extra weight you're carrying around. And so now you're much more.
The first time in my life I can actually do a proper pull-up.
No, good for you. Yeah. It's funny because I think, I'm not mistaken, I think only a small percentage of men in the U.S. right now can even do a single pull-up, adult men, that is. So it's good to at least get there. And then pretty soon you'll be doing 10, 15, 20, maybe one day. And I couldn't remember, did you guys say you had kids or no? I couldn't
No, I don't have any kids.
Okay. But you have the cats. And so the cats are happier. You guys are happier. And as far as like the rest of your family, you said you had mom, sister, so on and so forth. When's the last time you've seen them? And were they like, wow, look, this is just crazy, amazing?
Yeah, I see my mom about every weekend. I'm actually supposed to go cut her lawn today. But every time she sees me and we get talking on diet and all, I need to go on carnivore. I'm like, just do it. She's already keto. So she just needs to cut out all the keto stuff and just eat the meat. But I need to retrain her brain on, because she's all about, I can't have too much protein. I'll come out of ketosis. And I'm like, just ignore that. Just eat meat until you're full. You'll be fine.
Yeah, good for you. Anyway, I'll tell you what, David, thank you very much for doing this. We're running out of time now. Let me know. You said you had a an Instagram account, I think, or something, some sort of social media. Can you share that with us right now for people that might want to go visit?
Yeah, right now I am the current one that I'm doing. My wife has one. She's spreading it. I don't have the information for that. But I am on your website with the Revero community as a coach.
Got it. So if you go on there, you can find.
Yeah, look up David T.
All right. And have you, as far as the coaching, have you enjoyed doing that?
Yeah, I just became a coach a couple weeks ago, and I haven't had any clients through your program yet. Okay. But I'm working on trying to get some through personal and through local to hop on there and start working with me.
Got it. All right. Good luck with that, and appreciate it. And glad to have you in the community. Don't be a stranger. Come on by more often. We'd love to hear you. For everybody else, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. You guys take care, and we'll see you later. Bye, David. Take care.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, it's Dr. ShawnBaker here. If you guys are enjoying these success stories, you can become your own success story. You can do that by heading over to Carnivore.diet. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial and get started today. We're looking forward to supporting you. Our community is wonderful, and we'd love to see your success.